disclaimer before we begin, this video is not for kids. Do you fucking hear me? It's for adults, specifically older Thomas fans. So, enjoy the video. Or don't. I don't give a shit, personally.
The signalman at Edwards Junction has worked in the signal box for many years. Whenever Edward wishes to stop at the Vicarage Orchard to chat with Trevor's traction engine, his crew always warns him first. They sign a special book with permission granted. The old engine makes a stop.
Thank you, Russell.
All in good time, Edward. Give my regards to Trevor while you're there.
No worries, Russell, I always do.
Russell loved his job, but as he grew older, he found it harder and harder to do it well. As poor Douglas found out one cold winter's day.
Come on, switch the pints already.
Oh, gracious goodness me! Hold on, Douglas, I'm coming!
About time. He took your time, Dougie. You mean that crutchy old signalman took his time? Again? I was held up at the junction for almost an hour. Would have been even longer had I no whistle for a road. I'm surprised Miss Hat had made him retire by now.
Come now, Douglas, don't be hard on Russell. He's worked in that signal box for over 40 years. You can't expect his concentration to be perfect his entire life.
That's the problem. I should may have to whistle to attract Russell's attention. If I didn't know better, I'd say you only had put up with him because he lets you stop in the middle of the open line to blether with Trevor. And that's what worries me.
Why? The man knows full well that Trevor and I are old friends. The vicar and I saved him, and I
cannot. I mean to distrust signalmen. But even so, anything can happen on the open line. If I were you, I'd think more about the railway city. Unless for him or Trevor's pleasure. Fair play, Ducky. But in a fair about Edward and that signalman. Let them have their fin, will you know?
But all the same, Edward couldn't help worrying about the signalman if Miss Hat made him retire. Then, what would the new signalman be like? What if it meant the end of his visits to the orchard and his chat with Trevor?
No one understands Trevor and I like Russell does.
When they reached Wellsworth, the driver uncoupled him from the coaches and went to fill up his sandbox.
Botheration!
What's the matter, driver?
No sand's coming out of the thing. It must have run out. Never mind, I'll have a word with the station master about it.
He came back a few minutes later.
Well, the good news is, a new shipment of sand will arrive from Brendam within the hour. Donald's been sent to collect it. The bad news is that our next train will have to be delayed till it gets here.
Oh well, I could always use a longer break anyway.
Better yet, we could pay Trevor a short visit in the meantime.
Are you sure that's a wise idea, Edward? I mean, the rails are slippery, and you've barely any sand.
We'll be fine, Shirley, my dear. It's just a short chuff to the vicarage. It's not like we're travelling all the way back to Brendam. Besides, if there's one thing I've learned in all my years of service, it's how to handle icy rails.
So Edward's crew went to the signal box to tell the signalmen they were doing, and with his permission they reluctantly backed the old engine slowly up the branch line. Edward was feeling most pleased with himself, but he reckoned without Russell.
Ah, splendid to see you again, Edward.
Now, Trevor, no cause to be hysterical. I've only been gone a few minutes.
Okay, Edward. But you got me here at a good time. I'm just getting my boiler warmed up before Jem and I set out to cut firewood. So, what's the good word?
I wouldn't exactly call it a good word, Trevor. There wasn't any sand left at Wellsworth, so getting here was more difficult than usual. I reckon Henry must have used the last of it when he passed through.
Well, you know Henry, always stoking up as much as possible, or so Boko tells me. Anyone would think he was a sandaholic.
Ah, that's Donald now. He'll be passing by with extra sand, thank goodness.
I don't think he'll be just passing by.
You mean... break blocks and buffers! Let's make a run for it! Oh, for pity's sake! Trevor, have you any sand left on you?
I don't run on rails, Edward, so I don't use sand.
Blast!
For sakes, stop! Stop! Edward, are you alright, lad?
I think so. Though the real question is, how could this have happened? I specifically remember warning the signalman I'd be stopping here.
Aye, only importantly.
Edward's driver, who jumped clear along with the firewoman, promptly phoned for the breakdown gang. It wasn't long before Douglas came to clear the mess. Miss Topham Hatt was on board.
I'm sorry, ma'am. This usually doesn't happen. We did tell the signalman we'd be coming here after all.
The accident wasn't your fault, Edward. As it turns out, Mr. Russell here forgot to pass the message along the line.
I knew it. If you ask me, it's time for retirement.
Douglas, a little compassion, if you wouldn't mind.
No, Mum. Douglas is right. I've worked in that signal box for a long time now. Perhaps too long.
Russell, you're not seriously suggesting...
Yes, Edward. I've decided to retire from the railway, effective tomorrow.
Then you have my utmost support. I'm sorry, Trevor.
No, Edward, I understand.
Luckily, Donald hadn't been going fast, so neither engine had been seriously damaged. But Edward was still taken to the works for an inspection. The next day, the inspector told him he was to help Donald with line clearing duty.
But I thought he did that job with Douglas. Oh, never mind, I'd better comply.
Edward and Donald worked hard keeping the lines clear. But all the while, Edward couldn't help wondering why he wasn't working on his branch line. It wasn't until Christmas Eve that Miss Hat gave him the all clear to return.
I say, I don't remember that signal being there before. Oh, whoa! Oh. What is all this?
I was wondering the same thing when I asked to stay at Farmer McCall's for a few days.
You're both welcome. Now you two can deliver and only accidents are averted.
Wait, this was your idea, Douglas? Why, I don't know what to say.
Nope. Thank John Russell. He brought up the idea to Miss Hat, and she asked me to help build it while you two were away. A nice wing parroting gift. Would you not agree?
It's a lovely parting gift indeed. I'll have to thank Russell if I ever see him again.
And I as well.
Well, you boys can thank him now. Merry Christmas, Edward and Trevor.
Merry Christmas, Russell. So, Russell, how's retirement treating you?
It's an adjustment for sure. I do miss being in the signal box. It's always like a second home.
Well, just try sticking out in